We good though. We just gonna flow.
Okay.
Let's see.
You like it's already done.
Yeah, it's done. I don't got no production team.
That's like you are the production to you and
Hello,
Jesus. Let's get
hello.
holy over here.
Let's get
You've got you and God. You and Jesus is all you need.
you and God. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to whomever is tuning in right now. I appreciate you guys for taking the time out and looking at me because I know sometimes it can be hard,
You know well.
but it's fine. So first and foremost, I'm a straight shooter. I like to get right into the
Let's
nitty
do
gritty. I don't
it.
like pander around stuff, even
Okay.
though sometimes I beat around the bush. But anyways, that's part of my growth. We're healing.
Okay.
Hello. Speaking of healing,
Yes.
we have the wonderful, my OG's wife, Tanisha Coats. I appreciate you for coming through. Well, I came through here.
It's okay.
And 23 minutes actually.
I cannot.
But I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to have a conversation about healing,
Yeah.
and that's what this podcast is about. You just being who you were was somebody. This was actually one of the same rooms that I met you in. I believe. I think. No. Yes. Maybe so.
I think like totally met, but we met at a pop up shop for one of the children. But it was like, hi, my name's Tanisha. Hi, I'm
Oh,
and
okay.
it kind of
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again, I appreciate you for
Yes.
giving me the opportunity to have the conversation about healing. I believe in my spirit and in my soul that you are the perfect person to have this conversation about.
Man.
One of the things that made me want to have you on here to talk about healing is because you were just finishing up your master's in counseling. Yes.
Yep.
And I just was like, man, she black, I'm black.
We black.
We black. And
Right.
I just believe that it was just like, because you don't see a lot of
Yeah.
black therapists,
Yeah.
counselors that are really in the community putting in work, you know what I'm saying, to really help elevate our mental, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And that was just big for me, you know what I'm saying, just really knowing that, like, yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
Um and yeah, so I asked you, what was that? Today, actually. No, the other day. The scripture
Yes.
that you wanted to lead with to kind of set the foundation for the conversation that we were going to be talking about. If you don't mind sharing the scripture and then
Sure.
just talking about like what it means to you as
Okay.
far as healing and just.
Yep. So the scripture we have today is Psalm 34:18, and it is the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Um, I'll stop right there because it's two-part for me. It's also verse 19, but with that, just that part of the scripture for me was like I really know, like I have a knowing in my spirit that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. No one can tell me differently because I was the brokenhearted. In many levels, even today, I become the brokenhearted in
Yeah.
so many areas of my life. But at that time, I was in an abusive relationship and with my son's father for many years. And I just remember like crying out to the Lord and feeling like, do you hear me? I want to get out of this, but I'm trapped. Like I feel trapped because I want to love him and love him through his stuff. And then I have my own stuff. And then I have family stuff that's going on because now my family is looking at me like, are you a capable mother? You're allowing, the son's father to physically harm you. And so it was all of those things going on. And God gave me that scripture in my brokenness that I'm close to you. I'm close in every slap, every hit, everything that you go through. I'm there. I'm close. So that really just catapulted me into really seeking the Lord for everything. When I'm happy, when I'm unhappy, when I feel threatened, when I don't feel threatened. Like I just really knew to seek Him because He would be close to me. So that's the first part. And
Hello.
then, and then verse 19 says, the righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. I am 45 years old, and this scripture reigns true in every area of my life.
Mm,
Like, he really has delivered me from every single trouble. Not the way I wanted him to.
mm,
Sometimes I'm like, can you do it this way? Or I pray for it to go this way, and he does it a whole nother way, but it's still for my good. It
mm.
ends up still being for my good. In the midst of it, I'm like, what's going
Yeah.
on, Father?
Mm,
But honestly, he's delivered me from every trouble. I cannot think, I promise you, I cannot think of a trouble he has not delivered me from. It almost makes me
mm,
cry. I cannot think of one that
mm,
he has not delivered me from.
mm. That's real. That's real.
And
Wow.
again, not in the way that I want him to,
Mm,
but in the way that he wanted to.
mm,
And however that looked, it sometimes looked very ugly. It
mm,
looked very painful. Um, but it still let me know that he was doing what needed to be done in me.
mm. That's real. And in times like that, I know for me, nah. That's why I told you, I'm still, at some point, I'm still at square one at the time to be like, God, what are you going to answer? My
The
God.
prayer.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
That's real. That's real. Wow. So yeah, that's a powerful scripture, and I'm glad. Like, this is the first time anybody ever broke it down. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or being on here, but yeah. So I I want to shout out. I call your and this ain't just cause Coach Prime doing this thing with Buffalo and all that, you know. But I called your husband Coach Prime, you know, with Team Enterprise. He OG man, for real.
That's
For
hilarious.
real, he
That's
he good
hilarious.
playmaker,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And I believe like I there's always some pain that's attached to the healing process. There's always that's your foundation of the healing process.
Yeah, Ishaba.
Hey, listen, I ain't never spoken tongues, but I may do it today.
Woo, that's the
No,
truth.
but seriously, like, I think starting a teen enterprise, like, if people don't know, teen enterprise, young entrepreneurship program, kids, I forgot the ages, but from like 14 to 24, 5, 6, I don't know. Anyway, I was a coach there, whatever. That's neither here nor there. But I started there, and that was the starting point. I was going through a lot of trauma and pain, you know what I'm saying? And I believe that that opportunity, which I want to give, publicly, kudos and respect and love to, your husband, your family for
Amen.
giving me the
Yeah.
opportunity to do that, because that was literally like one of the things that I like. One of the healing processes that I had to go through was believing in myself, and that gave me the opportunity to do that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna go out in my business because we talking
No,
about
but
your
no.
business now. I ain't gonna do all that. But I'm just giving you a little
Yeah,
context
yeah,
to where I'm going with this.
yeah.
So can you share like what situation? I know you said about your old relationship, or if that was that, but what made you so passionate about really healing and very intentional about your healing process?
So I think the passion really came because, and this is not trying to be like churchy, but I really honestly can say this, like it's really what God put in me. It's just what God put in me. I remember my mother. We have funny conversations because back in the day, I would literally pick up the phone when I saw a 1-800 number and like a child was starving, and I was like 5 or 6 years old. A child would be starving, and they would say send $1 every week or to help this kid, and I would call the 1-800 number and say that I would give to the child so the child can eat. And they would call the house back, and my mom would be like, "She's 6." She can't give you any money.
Yeah.
But my heart was always for people.
Mm,
I never like to see people hurting. I
mm,
never like to see people in despair. I always felt like I was the person that should help them or make them happy or do something to be there for them. That's just what I always had like innately that was in me. And I think that was just literally the gifting that God placed in me for people. But then the Lord showed me, I'm going to drag you through some stuff so you can know that I am healer.
Yeah.
So you're going to go through all of the turmoil and tribulation in your life so that when you're sitting talking to people, they understand it's real because it's coming from me, what I had to do in you for you to get to this space. So I can't ever give myself the glory for the passion, any of it. It all comes from God. And because of that, I try to give service back to God by doing the work He's called me to do, and that is just a passionate work for me to help people and walk with people along the process. Because someone did it for me, God allows someone to do it for me in my troubling times, and also because it's what He already gifted me with and placed in me. Did I answer that question or no? Okay.
You did. It's the leader in you. So like on your like having that, because you did, the where the foundation was set at, just seeing them kids, you
Yeah,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying, like
yeah.
that just kind of convicted your heart to a degree to want to help,
Yes.
healing. What has that done for your marriage? Because every time T, Coach T, Prime, he has a speech or whatever when it comes to teen enterprise. He always, you're the first person, what I'm saying, that he, refers to. Like, thank you. So what has that done,
Yeah.
for your marriage, you healing
Yeah.
individually?
Woo.
Because ladies, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. It's needed.
It is.
For ladies, men, if you're in a
Ooh-wee.
relationship, marriage, it's needed for you to heal individually. So what has to, please give us some context,
Ooh, yes.
and I'm
And
here.
seriously speaking to the women in that, because remember, I just said I came out of a broken relationship. And so in that, I had 5+ years to heal from the broken relationship. And in doing that, that's literally what God was having me to do. I was in my healing process to the point where I was celibate for 4 years before meeting my husband, because I just really had some things in me that needed to be flushed and gutted out, or I would have attracted the same man I attracted in the abusive relationship.
Hello.
Hello. Okay.
That's real.
So there was some work. Like there was some. God did so much in my life at that time, Coach B, because it was almost like He stripped me of everything that I once knew. I always had to have like my long nails done, my hair fly, not my, no, my, like a piece of hair couldn't be out of place. It was vanity, but I wanted to look good. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want people to think there's anything wrong with that, because it's not. But I was coming from a place of see me. And so God was like, see me and her. Like,
Yeah.
see God. Don't see Tanisha, see me. So I went through all of that. I remember constantly laying before the Lord. I remember constantly being at church, constantly being in small groups, constantly being in ministry. Like I was in devotion to the Lord, because who I was could not attract the type of husband that I wanted by far at that time. And so, going through all of those ups and downs, going through that healing process that was highly painful. And at this time, I'm a single mother too. So now add that component to the healing process. It was days I didn't care for my son the way that I wanted to, because I honestly just didn't have it in me. I was tired. My spirit was tired. My soul was tired. My mind was tired. My money was tired. My what all can be tired?
I ain't never heard money. It's
My money was tired.
real,
Okay.
baby. It's real,
It's
baby.
real, it's real when your money
Wow,
tired, right?
yeah.
But everything around me was just broken. And I heard of one of my friends told me, broken people always have broken outcomes. And that has like stuck with me for a very long time, because I see things what we call in psychology, like you see those things from trauma eyes. So everything is broken around you because you're seeing it from a broken state of mind. And that's where I was, Coach B. I was literally right there. And so God began to cleanse me, literally began to sanctify my soul, sanctify my walk, sanctify my mind, sanctify my money. You
Yeah.
know,
No, that's
like
real.
things just started being cleansed. There was almost like a purging that was happening. And in that purging process, I had started a new job, and I was, really. I remember that being such a beautiful time in my life. I didn't have all that I wanted. I really didn't. But I had everything that I needed and more. Like everything I needed and more. I was actually at a place where I wasn't even able to pay my mortgage. And my home never got foreclosed on. I didn't pay my mortgage in probably a year or two. It was that long.
Man.
Never, ever got foreclosed. Like it was just God was showing me, you trust me. Because I knew how to get my mortgage paid, ladies. I knew that.
Oh, she got that
But
Yeah.
I also knew what came with that. And
Yeah.
I didn't want that for myself or for my life. I didn't want that. I didn't need that. And
Well,
so me honoring God in that time, I believe God was like, okay, I got a Tory Deshaun Coats for you, sis.
hello.
You keep hanging on. You
Yeah.
keep hanging on. And literally just going through that process, it ended up meeting my husband. I met my husband at probably one of the most purest states that I was in my mind and in my soul is when I met my husband.
Yeah. So when did tell me? How did that?
So we met
I'm
at,
sorry, but
we
I
met.
love love. I
Like
love love.
I love
Yeah,
love.
yeah,
We were actually working, right?
yeah.
And I was working with the parents, and he was working with the child. And we were still. This is another podcast. Really, it is. But we were friends. We were working with on the same case, and so we had to talk to each other, and we really constantly had to talk about the case, talk about the parent, talk about the daughter. Had to meet to see the parent and the daughter at the same time. So it was all of that going on, and there was just like this liking going on. But he wasn't in a healed place.
I was gonna get to that too.
He wasn't in a healed place.
Dang.
He was in a very damaged place. He was in a painful, hurting place when I met him. And I would send him scriptures. I would try to encourage him by like songs of deliverance and encourage him by meeting other men at our church and things like that. Just try to, because at this time I just saw a brother hurting. But I thought he was a cute brother hurting, but nonetheless, he was a brother hurting. And so I was trying to help him in that process. But we were just really friends. Like I remember we would be cracking up laughing, and I'd be like, "Girl," because that's how much we were
You hit her with the
friends.
girl?
Yeah,
Hey, you doing the friends all like that, bro?
but he didn't want it either. He wasn't ready for a relationship.
Respect.
He wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that spoke to how much of a friendship we had
Yeah.
in that.
Wow. Wow, that's real.
Yeah.
You had asked. I had another little question, but you answered that. Where he was. You know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
and that was great that you highlighted how you encouraged him. You know what I'm saying, because a lot of women like they meet a man in that situation. Oh no, baby. You know what I'm saying? So that's big.
Yeah.
So with you being a licensed practicing counselor, therapist, what are like the physical attributes that may be enhanced attached to really healing your soul, your mind, and your spirit emotionally?
I think you and I had this conversation when I was in grad school. I remember going in thinking I was going to help other people, but that program changed my life.
Yeah.
It literally changed my life. And it was a work that had to be done within. There was still a working within that I needed. And like all of the therapeutic orientation that we learned, the different modalities in counseling that we learned, I started understanding like this doesn't really happen for the people in my community. This doesn't really happen for us. And in all transparency, sometimes this doesn't even happen at church. because it's a demon. And
Yeah.
so we casting demons out when really we need to be having some type of therapeutic approach to help with the chemical imbalance of the mind, which could lead to whatever counseling practices that are needed to help heal that, and Jesus. Both, though, you
No, for
know?
real.
And so I grew up really learning that it was all Jesus. If it wasn't Jesus, then it was a demon. If it wasn't, it wasn't like this in between of mental health right there. And so I started looking at that process for myself like, okay, I'm dealing with this. I dealt with that. Like, where am I in this journey? Where am I in this process? What is going on in my mind? Loving God and still loving Jesus as my Savior. What is going on in my mind? Like, what's happening in my mind? Because I keep doing this same pattern with Jesus.
Yeah.
So how do I break this pattern? Like, what's happening? And that program really led me to understand how therapy really helps to heal those places, how reframing your thoughts really helps to heal those places. All of these things that I began to learn, these tools that I began to learn, helped me to begin to really identify what was going on within and help in the healing process. Did I answer that question or no? I
Yeah,
think I'm going to
you
say
did.
that a few
And
times.
like what you did answer
Okay.
it, but I wanted to understand like because our physical health is in our community is abandoned. So what are some like positive ways of like reframing your mind and just really healing and just really taking your mental health serious, like from your work, from things you've experienced? What are some like positive as far as our physical health that can be affected, what I'm saying, aligned with our mental?
Being healed,
Yeah,
like
being
the
healed.
good things of what your physical health can do. And so, first and foremost, I went through a hysterectomy in 2015. I had a major surgery of a hysterectomy. 2 weeks after that, I had a small bowel obstruction. I had the hysterectomy because I had fibroids, and the fibroids were increasing, and it was very difficult for me to do anything really. And so I ended up getting that surgery July 10th of 2015. After that, again, the second surgery came. When my body was literally in this transformative state of surgery into my body now changing, my mental was doing a thing. Like, I was crying out because I didn't know, will this pain ever end? I had a lot of complications with my surgery and I didn't know if this pain would ever end. So I can only imagine the inverse of that. So if I don't have pain in my body and I do have a good mental state, that's like connected to me. So my physical is good, my mental is good. My physical is declining, my mental is declining. You get a great report from the doctor. I walk out the doctor with a little bit of pep in my step, like,
No, that's
yeah,
real.
it's good, thank you, Jesus. But I get a different type of report. I'm kind of maybe worried or, anxious about what's to come. So I believe that, as especially in our community, when we take care of ourselves, taking care of our bodies, what we eat, what we drink, who we are around. You ever go into a place and like you feeling good, and then you go in a place and you're like, your spirit is just unsettled
That's real.
about what's going on.
That's
And
real.
so I look at that, like, even now I'm like vegetarian-ish because sometimes I just need that piece of chicken. Like, God made the chicken and I eat the chicken that God made for me, right?
That's real.
So, but I'm understanding what I'm putting in my body is producing something, and what I don't put in my body produces something as well.
Yeah.
And then, like all the alcohol and kicking it and that having that type of lifestyle, that will really age you It will decline your mental, your physical. So I try to stay away from those things and
Yeah.
put better things in my body. I go on nature walks all the time. As you see, my home is filled with plants.
It
I
is.
want good oxygen coming in these homes. I'm very particular about the plants that I have, the smells that I have. I only use soy candles, or just candles that have no toxins in them or chemicals in them. I'm trying to produce an atmosphere of cleanliness. So that way, my physical health benefits from that and my mental health benefits from that. I've never kept a dirty home because I can't work in chaos. My physical would be all anxious and stuff is everywhere and things aren't in place, which is going to impact my mental health. So I try to do my best with making sure my body is healthy, my mind is healthy, trying to make sure that the people that I'm connected to are healthy or want to get healthy.
Yeah.
You just can't be in some stuff and stuck in the stuff and want to stay in the stuff. There's got to be some struggle, like, I don't
Yeah.
really want this scent, some type of
Yeah.
struggle. But if you're comfortable in it, that's probably really not the person that I'm going to closely connect to. I will minister to that person and help that person. But like being in my core, I can't have that in my core because I really need things that catapult me to the next level, that catapult me into who God has called me to be.
That's real. And
Yeah.
and I'm glad like you're going into that because when you're explaining all that, it really what I hear is guarding your heart.
Proverbs
Guarding your heart.
4:23. Yes.
So let me tell you this little situation, right?
Tell me
We
the
about to
situation.
get so
Yeah,
look,
tell
look.
me the
So
situation.
I was dating somebody,
Okay.
right? And I wouldn't even say dating. It was just a
Okay.
little talk here and there. Anyway,
Did she know that?
she knows.
Okay, because
No, she did. No, no,
okay,
no.
that's the number one problem right there. Okay.
No, but I don't listen to rap music.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying anymore because I know that for me, when people make it, and sometimes even when I say it out loud, it sounds crazy to me. But like when I listen to rap music, it really makes me look at women different.
Okay, that's
Like real
fair.
talk, like it
Yeah.
make me like the things they say about women cheating, the things they say about women doing, the things they say about it made me look at you. I have no respect for women if I'm consistently listening to this. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? That's what it does for me.
That's
Like I
good.
know that.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
So it's like, and I have a daughter,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that may
yeah.
sound cliche, but it's like at the end of the day, like I don't want to like whomever God blesses me for to be a wife, I don't want to, disrupt my heart, you know what I'm saying, with listening to that type of music.
Yeah.
So I had this conversation and she's, whatever. I ain't gonna say all that business, but anyway. But she was just really kind of like, why don't you listen to rap? Like it's all right to have a little mix, you know what I'm saying? But I done found some raw like Christian rappers, you
Yeah,
feel me? That
yeah.
sound like Pop Smoke,
Right, right, right.
Future, the sound, you know what I'm saying? But they talking about kingdom work, they talking
Yes.
about progressing,
Yeah.
elevating. And it was just like a big old, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just looking like, and it's like she kind of looked at me like I was like just fried
Okay.
for wanting to like be around productivity. You know what I'm saying? So that brings me to Acts, and I think that like I believe like on heal, and that's part of my healing journey.
Okay.
Not listening to the certain types of things that I used to listen to, even podcasts. Like
Absolutely.
there's a lot of things that I like took away. And
Yeah.
that's a misconception people have is just like people you think you just being better or you just doing too much. But no, this is like if I'm in a relationship with you, you want me to be listening to some Meek Mill? Cause I'm gonna look at you like one of them little thoughts. You feel me? That real talk though. Like I
Little
am.
thotty.
Yeah, little thotty. We
Little
gonna drink some
thotty.
water. No, oh my God, what was she doing last night? Hold on, wait a minute. Hello.
Gosh.
So
Right.
what for you? What is like the most common misconception about healing that you hear or you think people have? You know what I'm saying about that?
I think people think it looks good, and that is good, and it
Mm,
doesn't look good. Like
no,
it does
it's
not. It's
ugly.
so ugly. I had this. I made this post years ago where it was this girl who it said what people think healing looks like, and she was all like,
No.
taking trips on the beach, kicking it, having a soft life, all of that. And then on the other side is like what it really looks like, and it was somebody like holding on to
No,
dear
for
life. You know
real.
what I mean? So I think people think that or even how they try to heal. And I've seen some of my friends break up with a guy, and then they're on social media and they're like posting it like, yeah, out here doing this and that and that. And it's like, sis, that's not healing.
Yeah.
Sit down.
Yeah.
Sit
For
down.
real.
Like, seriously, sit down and take space to really understand what's going on within. Don't even look at the circumstance of him or whatever happened within. Why am I drawing this? Why am I attracting this? What is happening? Am I allowing people to stay longer than I should stay? I heard this. I heard an author say she is at a place where if she has level 10 accessibility to people, and they give her level 3 responsibility, there has to be a boundary in there.
Yeah.
So now she brings her level 10 accessibility down to their level 3 responsibility. And that really blessed my life, because you have to be careful of the access that you give to people. So I think that the misconception specifically probably in our community is you can drink it away, you can smoke it away, you can sex it away, you can have the best fit away, you can have your hair laid the best, your eyebrows, your eyelashes, nothing against all of that stuff, but it's not healing. That's not healing.
Yeah.
None of that surface stuff that you're doing in the healing process. Allow whatever God needs to do to really happen in your life, because it's not a pretty process, and we can't make it a pretty process. During that time when I was going through like literally hell in my life and the pain that I was suffering, I remember wanting to wear like high heels and still kind of be, this is Tanisha, I love a good stiletto, want to be fly, feel good about myself. I remember God speaking to me like, you're on the battlefield. Have you ever seen a soldier with high heels on, armed and ready to fight? You haven't, and you won't be the first one to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
you
that's
gotta,
real.
you have to put on your war clothes during this process. And sometimes that looks like not being around the people that you love. Sometimes it really means disconnecting from everything that you once thought you needed to be connected to. So healing is not pretty, and we can't make it pretty. We can't, like I said, we just can't drink to make it better, smoke to make it better. We can't live a certain lifestyle or make the image of healing like it's good.
Yeah.
It's a painful process. It's a dying
It's a.
process. You're literally dying in that process.
When you say that brings me back. One of the most painful, because this is like since last year for me, it has been an ongoing journey of healing and things like that. I remember one of the times. This was a part of. So I lost my entire family. My girlfriend, the mother of my children at the time, she left me. And I lost my car. This is between a 2 month frame. This is around the time I met y'all. I lost my car. I lost my house. I got kicked out of my house. So I was homeless, and I lost my family. You know what I'm saying? And I was drinking it away. But when you're talking about like it's ugly, and God took everything away from me that I identify with. You know what I'm saying? That I like was so like comfortable with. You know what I'm saying? And he just took it all away. And I remember one time I was drunk out my mind, driving around Cleveland, and I went to my boy dad's house, best friend, man, my dog, man, and drunk, and I was I was weeping. I'm talking about weeping. All I can remember, I threw up in his, in the middle of his driveway, and he just picked me up, and but those are the pictures that people don't want to see. You know what I'm saying? Though that I remember that. You know what I'm saying? All the weight was heavy. The weight was heavy. You know what I'm saying? And it was just
Yes.
it's yeah. I
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
yes because
Yeah.
that healing.
Yeah.
Because you are dying. Like you think about it. Like
Literally.
you get to a place. God, we always get to a place of revelation.
Yeah.
Like look, brother, I gotta change something. And like,
Right.
if it's through a painful situation or if it's
Yeah.
just an epiphany that you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the other side of that is dying to everything that was comfortable, everything that was
Yes.
cool, and everything like you talking about. I'm talking about. I was a tobacco smoker. Used
Mm.
to drink all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Sex and women, all that. Like, but
Mm-hmm.
now, Brian, sit down. You're a daddy. You're a daddy.
Yeah.
Calm down. You're done. You're broke. Get it together. Get your stuff together. For real
Yeah.
though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
all that's attached to that too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Finances, emotional
Yeah.
health, spiritual health. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely. It makes me think when you said that in this process that I think is a misconception. There's no 1, 2, 3 out
there's
step.
no 1, 2, 3 out step.
There is not. That is not like what healing looks like. God can have you in that thing for years,
Yeah.
months. I mean, how many times in that process did you cry out, Lord, make it better, make it better,
No,
and He
for real.
still allowed you to sit in that process. So it's not something that is just like 3 steps to healing. Like I wish it
Yeah.
was. I would do those 3 steps every time. In fact, it would probably be easier because I would sin and do what I wanted to do, and know that I had those 3 steps to rely on. That's not how God does it. You
Yeah.
don't know how long you sitting in that process.
Yeah. That's real. Yeah.
So that kind of humbles your spirit. Like, look, I'm dependent on Him because I don't know when Him gonna bring her out.
No, for real. For real. And then too on like a little small side of that, like I did a podcast on faithfulness one time,
Yeah.
and I said I don't know if I gotta look back on it, but what I said was like our faithfulness to God
Yeah.
can sometimes, a lot of the times, be like the bridge for some people to get through what they need to get through. You know what I'm saying though? Like, and then even like going towards our
Yeah.
healing process, like our faithfulness to healing, you know what I'm saying, committing to God's will and all that that's attached to it can be like the the view.
Yeah.
Like somebody can be looking at us like, dang, that can
Yeah.
be some encouragement.
Yes.
Have you ever experienced that? Like you like becoming your higher self, as people like to say.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, has there ever been an experience when you was just like somebody came like, I thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, have you
Yes.
ever experienced that?
I have. So shout out. I have had so many great pastors in my life. I mean, I've been a member of like 3 churches, but each pastor really spoke greatness into my life in one way or another. They have literally formed me into the woman who I am today, right? And so at this particular time, I was under the leadership of Pastor Vernon at the Word Church. And I was going through my heartbreak and I was going to church. Like I said, I was in ministry. I was doing all the things to get clean and get healed. And my son was right there with me. He was going to ministry groups with me. He was where I was, he was there too. He was in the church, okay? And I remember feeling so down and out, like, when will this ever work for me? When will I have a husband? Now, my son was probably like 7 or 8 at this time. And I'm just like, when will I have a husband? When will this happen for me? And I remember going up to Pastor Vernon that day after a sermon he preached. And when I went to him, I remember he said, "You're a faithful daughter." And I was just like, I started crying because it wasn't that it so much came from his mouth, but it was that I knew God was using him to let me know where I was in the process and what was going on with me. I knew that was like he was the mouthpiece of God that day for me. And him saying that, I was, like I said, I was always bringing my son. I didn't have a car at this time either. So I was depending on other people from the church. Shout out to Sharonda and Shelly, who really held it down for me during those times. They would come and pick me up and pick my son up. Didn't have much money, so I couldn't give them a lot of gas. They really didn't even ask for it. I don't even know if they did ask for it, to be honest. They were faithful sisters, making sure me and my son had what we needed, right? And they have families of their own, They would come out of the way to come and pick me up to take me to church. But I stayed faithful, even in the lack of finances, not having transportation, not paying my mortgage. And when Pastor Vernon said that to me that day, I knew that God was doing a work. Like this was God's work. I was going through this because God wanted me to go through this. Before I was kind of angry about it. Like, I don't fix it. Just you're God. Just come on. You can fix anything. You can do all of these miracles. Just do it. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
started getting aggravated in the process. I started becoming frustrated in the process. So when that was said to me, it just really, it really blessed my soul to keep on in the fight and continue on. Somebody is watching me. Somebody sees the faithfulness, and that to me is just like God giving you that. Hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm close to the brokenhearted.
Yeah. That's
I'm gonna
real.
deliver you from it all.
That's
I
real.
see you. My people see you. It is well.
Yeah.
It's just that loving father that just comes to let you know, I see you and I love you.
And that goes back. I'm so glad you shared that because it like goes back to what I like to say. God turns pain into purpose because in that process, and I can attest to this as well. In that healing process, even though it was painful for you, you were going through all what you were going through. God was killing two birds in one stone. He was working on you, your character,
Yes,
and he was
yes,
inspiring. He was helping you inspire
yes.
others.
That's so good. That's
Hello,
good.
that came to me just real quick. God said,
I
hit me with
love
it.
it.
But
Yes,
that's
that's
real though.
good.
You know
That's
what I'm saying?
so
Because
good.
the amount of
That's so
pain that you're
good.
going through, you know what I'm
That's
saying? You
so
just don't
good. Yeah,
know.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
who,
yeah.
like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And he's so good.
he
He's so
is.
good. Even in the story that you just told about throwing up and things like that, now Daz gets to see you doing this. So
Yeah.
he saw you in
Yeah.
the ugly. Now he
Ugly.
gets to see the faithfulness of
Yeah.
God in your life.
Yeah.
So he's just like, I work it in the good, I work
Yeah.
it in the bad, I work it.
Not working. Because I was very ugly. I mean, breath stank, every musty,
Listen,
everything.
you were
You wouldn't
musty.
invite me over here. I know that. This is all linen and everything. I said, wow, damn, man. I ain't a bit wet. Like, put the shower, hygiene, work on that first, baby. You get you all together. You get that
Get
thing.
them personals together. Get them personals together.
No, that's real though. But God, God's so good, man. Like real talk,
Yeah.
because and I'm able to process. So I'm glad having these conversations because I'm
Yeah.
able to look at things in a different perspective. Because I never even thought about it like that. Because it's like
Yeah.
in our pain, you know what I'm saying. That's where really
Mighty
God He
Jesus.
brings us. You know what I'm saying,
Yes.
to really, one, it's a purposeful thing, and then two,
Yes.
it's like you're able to like. Because you don't know, you walking in that and you still persevering in all that you're persevering in. You know how much you inspire somebody, especially for the people that
Ooh,
think
wee.
they know something or people that actually do it knows what you got going on.
Right.
So yeah, I almost stuttered, but we got it out. Ah, it was a lot of spit right there.
That's
I
okay.
got
You
it
good. You
out.
good. You're not musty. You
No,
good.
I'm not musty. No, I'm not musty. So next thing. So
Yes.
mindfulness and self-awareness. How
Yes.
important is that in this process? Like, why is that so important?
I think it goes back to what I said about the accessibility and the responsibility. What boils my blood is when people are not accountable, not just people, but adult people
That's
are
real.
not accountable for their actions. When I say that, just makes me like, ugh,
Yeah.
you know. And so I think that mindfulness is a piece of when you are able to really sit with yourself and say, I did that wrong.
Yeah.
I said that wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
Period. Like I was wrong. I think that that really helps to grow you within. It helps to grow and develop your character, your personality, the way that you interact with others. There's so much that goes into that. And so that mindfulness to me is something that we all should do.
Yeah.
And everybody may have to do it differently. Mindfulness for me is literally, I don't know if you ever heard of forest bathing, but I literally go in the forest and I don't take AirPods or anything. I may have my phone with me because I still think Jeffrey Dahmer or somebody might be out there. So I'm, I'm gonna have my stuff with me, and when it's my stuff, I'm talking about my iPhone.
Yeah.
So
You would never came. I'm sorry. That's my flesh. It
Right?
is what it is, man. We gonna talk about it.
Loose here.
Loose
Loose
here.
here.
Yes, sir.
So I love to just sit and listen to nature And I really believe like God talks to me in that because I don't have any distractions. I'm very mindful of where I am in the process. I'm mindful of listening and tuning in to the birds chirping. I'm mindful at looking at the hummingbirds. I'm mindful at looking at the squirrels. And I'm sitting in a space of mindfulness that really helps create like a different breath in me. It creates a different space within me. But that might not be for everybody. Like
Yeah.
some people may need music, or some people may need to just be in a room that's just completely quiet, nothing being, no sound, you know. But I think that that mindfulness piece really does help us to see who we are, and it's a time of reflection within. Because I'm not thinking or trying to meditate on what I was wronged by or who offended me. It's really an inner work that's happening when I'm being mindful.
That's real, cause that brings me back. See, I'm like, you know what? I'm working on my scriptures,
Okay.
and it brings me back to two things: Corinthians 4:8. The summary of the scripture is thinking about the things that are pure, the things that are lovely, and reflect
Yes.
on those
Yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
And one thing I heard from Denzel Washington, he said, have an attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
Does that, and I don't know if this is what you take from it, but when you explain, you know, your nature thing, does that give you gratitude? Does that give you gratitude?
So much gratitude because remember, I had a major surgery. I
Mm.
was down for over almost a year from that
Dang.
surgery. I was eating out of a pick line. Like I literally,
What?
it was really really bad for me.
Man.
So now that I have the ability, sometimes when I'm walking, Coach B, when I'm walking in the park, I'm thanking God that I can walk. There was a time I couldn't walk. Like
Dang.
my husband had to hold me. He had to wash me up. He had to like literally bathe me.
Mm.
I was in a period of that in 2015. And so I got to say something to that too. And so now when I'm going to the park, or I'm grateful that I can walk, I'm grateful that I can listen without pain, because I used to be able to listen to some things, but I was in dire pain. Dire pain. So my thoughts were just like, I'm gonna die, nothing gonna go right in my life. But now I'm walking with more gratitude because I'm in a different space. And I really set out to make sure I have those spaces in my life. Because if I don't, Trina's gonna come out.
Trina.
Yeah, Trina.
We didn't hear about Trina. I thought Tanisha. So Trina's different.
Trina is different. Trina don't even, her and Tanisha don't even compare.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Trina about that life. Tanisha tries to stay in the will of God.
Yeah.
So,
She said that's very stern, the will of God.
in his word, okay? But so I know what can come out of me. And so I
Yeah.
try to be very mindful of making sure that my mind is in a good space.
So would you say on the other end of that though, like, so in that I want to talk about, cause I didn't know that you went through all that.
Yeah, I did.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
So, what could you like just touch on some times where you did show gratitude and how that helped you persevere through that, situation?
So I remember in that situation, I had to have two blood transfusions. Yeah,
Jesus Christ. Who am I sitting next to? Jesus. It's an alien? Jesus.
felt like one.
What?
Listen, yes. And so I was so afraid, Brian, because all the things you hear about blood transfusions or things I've heard about blood transfusions because I'm in the healthcare field.
Mm,
And I was just like, no, somebody's going to give me AIDS. I'm going to have HIV. Like I was just going
mm,
through all the things. And that pain started hitting and they were like, you're losing too much blood.
mm.
What's the move?
Yeah.
And so I had oh my gosh, a dear mother of mine. She came, a spiritual mother.
Mm,
And she came in the room and I was like, I don't think I can do this blood transfusion. And she let me go through all of it. And she was like, they want to offer you some blood
mm.
to keep you alive.
Man, it was that
It
serious?
was serious. It was
Dang.
very serious. I had lost that much blood in the process.
Dang.
And so, and she just looked at me when she said the blood.
Mm.
I was like, I'll take two.
I'll take that.
I'll take two. Well, y'all got to put the blood transfusion. What y'all got to do? You know.
I'm glad you put
But
your hand on there because I'm gonna put the emoji too up there.
but I was grateful.
Yeah.
There was gratitude in the process because even in my darkest hour, he brought people in my life to encourage and inspire me. And I just was grateful for that. Grateful that there are hospitals. Grateful that there's doctors that went to school to help me. Grateful for the scientists and the scientific things that have to go on in order to get the surgeries done in the way that they, like, there was a spirit of gratitude. And I was so grateful for my husband. There was so much gratitude. Like, God, you knew who I needed in this hour. We got married November 1st of 2014. My surgery was July 10th of 2015. We weren't even married a year. My husband had to literally take off work for maybe about 6 to 8 months or something. He was off for a very long time from work. He ended up having to get FMLA to stay by my side because I was in the hospital for so long. And I I was really, when I married him, I knew that I was supposed to marry him. But when we went through that season of me being sick like that, I knew that 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 I knew that's who God placed in my life because he did it so gracefully. To this day, he has never said, "Yeah, man, when you was in the hospital, I couldn't work no more." You know, he's never ever done that to me. Ever has done that to me, and I'm sure that was hard on him because you know how Tori like to make moves. That brother doing this, doing that. I'm like, "Hey, where you going now? What's going on?" So he really had to come to a space of humility within his life, and just the gratitude in that, grateful that God even allowed me to go through that process.
Wow.
I sit grateful in that now. A spirit of gratitude in that.
Dang. That's amazing though, because it's like I think about, cause when I'm at church and I see y'all all the time. I don't want to seem like no spy, but I do the cameras at church, y'all, so I see people, and I it's been a couple of times, where I just saw y'all like really like the devotion, praising God together, and it makes sense now. Like
Yeah.
y'all holding hands as people, like, and it looked like at first because I didn't grow up with that. It was always just that's a whole. I ain't even about to go all the way where I grew up, but yeah, it makes sense. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like why y'all are how y'all are, and that's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's powerful.
I want to say something about this too. I had this in my notes because I have to say
Yes,
this.
Lord.
In that process of healing, like Coach B, I really didn't know how life was going to be for me after the surgery. It was really like that for me, right? And I remember my husband, people coming up to the hospital to see me. My husband wouldn't let people come in. And I was kind of frustrated because I'm like, I'm a connector. I need to see people. That's how I was thinking. But I was so tired and so just in pain that it was like, hey, who did you say? My cousin them couldn't. Okay, morphine or whatever. I needed. That's how I was. But this is what God gave me in the healing process. When you come out of a major surgery and they put you into recovery, in that recovery room, only certain people can come in the recovery room. And those people have to be sterile. They may have to wear.
All right, I'm out. No, I'm out. No, 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 no.
Come on, it's your podcast. Come on back.
Hello.
Come on back.
God in your heart.
Come on back.
What?
And so
That's
there has to be certain people that come into that because if there's people that come into the room, they can possibly infect. There can be infection. So the room has to be clean. There has to be only a certain amount of people, and the doctors are adamant about that because what they understand is coming in there, you open your surgery, you've had surgery, coming in there can mess the process up. It can do something, it can contaminate the process. So, in that recovery space, as we know, in our lives, we have to be careful who we're connected to when we're in that process with God. We have to be very mindful of who we allow in. and who we need to keep out. That's very important in that process. That recovery process is deep.
So you was gonna say that.
Yeah, because God had given me that, and I had to give it to your
Oh,
podcast. Yeah, I had to give it to y'all.
that's real.
Yeah, yeah,
That's real. I'm
yeah,
gonna tell you, I'm putting that in the bag.
yeah.
I'm putting that in the bag. So like going more deeper into that, man, because I would like to, because that's important. That's like so. Dang, like what type of like can you give me an example on your healing process? I don't gotta be specific. You know what I'm saying? I wanna know how did God give you the discernment to know like, nah. And like, was there ever a particular situation where you was just like, no, you're done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, both.
Both.
Like he gave me the discernment. I'll speak to you about that, and then he gave me they're done in your life.
Yeah.
That came too. I think again in that process. Remember, I was going through so much pain that I only had God. I needed God to do it. The doctors couldn't stop the pain. The medication they were giving me couldn't stop the pain. Nothing was stopping this pain. It was a debilitating pain that worse than labor pains, ladies. It was worse than that. Like it was crippling. I would fall to my knees. Tori would sometimes have to pick me up and take me back to the hospital after the process was over. After the surgery was over. After the process was over. And I was hospitalized for a long time. Sometimes it would come back and hit me, and he had to take me back to the hospital, and I would have to stay again. And then the whole circumstance would happen again. They would give me an IV. I couldn't eat for almost a week, and then they would release me. That literally that was happening, right? So it is in the healing process too. Sometimes when you're in that healing process, you go through again. You like you're literally in process. I don't think we ever just like I'm healed until the
Yeah.
Father comes down and brings us the glory, right? But anyway, so I was really depending on God. Like I couldn't depend on anyone else in this process, which really helps you to be more in tune to what God is speaking. I wanted to hear like, God, what are you saying? Okay, what about this nurse? What about this doctor? Like, oh, should I get this other surgery that they're telling me to get? What should I do? Like I was dependent on him. So when you have your ears so tight and so highly connected to hear what he's saying, he's gonna speak. He's a good father. Like he's a good father. He is a good father. And so if you're asking and you need to understand some direction, he'll put things in your path to give you that. And that's what he would literally do. It would be people that would come in and my spirit would be like, no, they can't stay. Or they don't mean any well. They're just trying to see where you are in this process. They don't need to be around. Literally, my spirit would feel it. My body would start doing something. In psychology, how trauma is trapped in the body. I would feel whatever was going on with them. God gave me a spirit of discernment. And this is something I have always prayed for, Coach B. I have always asked God for a spirit of wisdom, a sound mind, and sound judgment. I want wisdom. I don't, all the stuff in the world, thank you, Lord. Give me wisdom. I want wisdom. Because if I have this stuff and have no wisdom, I could lose it all. So I want the discernment, and God was giving me that in that process, but He was giving it to me in my pain. It was happening in my painful moments because I needed Him to tell me exactly what I needed to do or what was going on. I heavily depended on God in that process, and that's all. That's all I can say. It was the discernment that He gave me
Wow.
to know. And then sometimes people will show you some stuff too.
Oh, they'll show you.
Sometimes you don't even need Jesus to tell you.
No.
You're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
no. God, you ain't got to tell me. I got it.
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
this, Jesus. I know now.
Yeah.
Like they will have these patterns that are repeated. And you just know, like, this isn't where I need to be. This isn't where I even feel good. I check the spaces I'm good in. Am I good in this space right here? Can I sit and just kind of be in this space? Or do I have to
Yeah. No, that's real.
constantly
Yeah.
show up in a way? that I don't even want to show up in. Because when I show up, I want to be authentically Tanisha.
Yeah.
And if you don't like that about me, and that's bothersome to you, then that's really your issue. But it's also an issue that I have to look at, and I have to choose, do I want to be in that space with you now?
That's real. And I think I believe the people need to know too with that praying for that's something so powerful to have that spirit of discernment. One thing too though that you have to be prepared for, and I believe to pray for before you pray for that discernment is having the strength
Woo!
to getting the answers to the discernment, because it can be hurtful. It could be mama.
Woo!
You know what I'm saying?
And
It
it
could be
has
mama like,
been.
ma, nah, you know how hurtful that is? Or it
It
can be
is.
somebody you love, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? In
Yeah.
love with, and you just like, I can't
Yeah.
even,
Yeah.
like, cause
That's true.
that's
That's good.
discernment, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
That's
having the
good.
strength to really
Ooh, that's
accept it
good.
and be like,
Yeah.
no, I can't, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
then too, not accepting it, then too, you understanding how that person's heart is when it comes to you. You know what I'm saying? And it can further break up a relationship. A
Absolutely.
lot of things are attached around that discernment. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Yeah, that's good. And that's the piece where I want the wisdom. So
Yeah.
when you give this to me and you show me, now what do I do with it in the
Mm,
way that still pleases you?
yeah.
Again, not Trina. What would please Jesus? I told you, Trina, about that life. But honestly, like you really do. I think what you said is very, very good for people to know, because you can get the discernment, as you said, but when you get it, okay, Lord, is my husband cheated on me? Lord, let me know, let me know. And then you find out, and now you're just all over the place, or anything like
Yeah.
physical, harmful situation can happen. Okay, is he Lord? Reveal X, Y, and Z to me, Lord, and then reveal how I need to deal with it. Show me what I need to do when you show it to me.
Yeah.
How do I respond to what you show me? And I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Because you get that discernment and you're like, wait a minute.
Man, what? It can be heartbreaking sometimes.
Absolutely.
Like for real though, like you just like, dang, like they really feel like that. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Did you just have a moment?
I did, cause I'm thinking about somebody I gotta go now. Thinking about no,
You
see?
know what?
So a big, and I'm sorry, we're having such a great conversation. This is a friend
Yeah,
to me.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. You're good.
So self care. I've had like a conversation, a little small conversation about self care, in different capacities over the past couple weeks. So self care, I believe, in some ways, and some like type of demographics have been made to seem selfish. Your self care, because it's like, it's all about me, this, that,
Yeah,
and the third.
yeah.
So in this healing journey,
Yeah.
it is important for self
Yes,
care.
it is.
Um, what role does self care play in your journey, and what are some good self care tips you can give to somebody in healing?
In healing. Okay. So roll with me, right? Hear me in this, because this just came to me like a week and a half ago, and it really just changed my life around self care. I listen to a lot of podcasts on therapy because I love to hear about the brain and the mind and the functionalities of the brain, and the functionality of our mind. And
Can you send me something, by the way?
I will.
Yeah.
Whew. What happens on the left side of our brain versus the right side? Like, I'm into that. I'm fascinated with how God did this in our lives, right? So the psychologist said that he is a little concerned about the self-care culture we have right now. And he said he's concerned because after you get your nails done, after you maybe go play basketball, after you, whatever your self-care habit is or routine is, then what? Like, then what's happening? Or if we take that away, have you still dealt with whatever that issue is? So now what if you don't get a chance to get your nails done because you are in the hospital? What if you're in the hospital and you can't do any of the self-care practices that you do at all because you're laying in a bed and this is it for the next 3 to 6 months. This is all you have.
Yeah.
Now what happens? And it really blew my mind because I was thinking like, no, but people, we need self-care. We need self-care. But really what we need is to get at the root of whatever the issue is. What's the root of that issue?
That's real.
Like pull the root.
Yeah.
If I don't like my job, no matter how much I get my nails done on the weekend, no matter how much I go forest bathing, when I clock back in on Monday, guess who don't like their job?
She got the. No, that's real.
So now what do we do with that? How do we now change the environment, completely shift the atmosphere, completely shift our lifestyle, our habits, like literally do the shift so we won't have to be so focused on self-care practices and routines. This is just new to me, right?
That's
But it was something that really it was spinning my wheels. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. Now, before I received all of that good teaching,
that's overpowering everything you about to say. 'Cause listen, we got some digging to do. Look, we ain't going up. No, it's over. You're done. Look within.
but I do think
Look within.
but I do think there's a beauty to caring for yourself.
Yeah.
There's a
No, that's
beauty
real.
in being able to care for yourself and care for your needs. Like I really look at what I need. Sometimes I get up in the morning after I, read my word and kind of meditate and pray and things like that. I literally sit and think, what do I need right now? What is it that I need in this moment? What is it that I need in this day? And sometimes it's like, you need to go brush your teeth. Your breath stink.
Yeah,
But then there's some real higher level things that God to say, or I know
My
that my
breath stink.
body. No, no, no.
I'm not even saying the shot.
But then there's really some things in all seriousness where I know that there's some things that I need to do within that day. Maybe it is really take 30 minutes out of my day and just really sit and journal. Put my phones upstairs because I have two phones due to work. Get away from technology and just make sure I incorporate that in that day. Or what does my body need? Like physically, what does my physical body need? Do I need hot tea with lemon right now? Really being in tune to what is needed in that day for me. What's going to make the best Tanisha? And those are some of the practices that I'll sit with, is really sitting down, getting quiet, and understanding what I need for myself. So I don't want to take away from that, because I think those self-care practices and routines are good. But I would, from hearing that podcast, I would love to see us really dig deeper into what these issues are that's forcing us or maybe making us have habitual self-care practices
That's real.
and dealing with that.
Yeah. Wow, that's real. So, dang, yeah, that's real. Yeah, okay. I thought, I thought I get my hair cut, that, cause when I say after I get my hair cut, I just be like, I can do anything. Christ is strengthens me.
Right,
When I get a little stuff, I'm just dialing it up.
And what if the
But
barber doesn't show up that
what the
day?
barber don't show up? Like sometimes, for real, that discourages me from going certain places.
Yeah.
There can be, yeah, that's real.
Yeah.
So for me, the principles that me and my children, we live on to become better people, become better servants of the kingdom, professionally, is the fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah.
And those are the principles that I strive to stand on.
Yeah.
In healing, though, what are some principles that you believe some, if not you or whomever, should, stand on to really, like, just in regards to just healing, though? Not life, but just in regards to just that healing process.
Yeah. Embracing that process. Embracing your healing process.
Yeah.
Like really being okay with it, because it's gonna happen anyway. Like some things are just out of your control, and so I would say to really embrace the process that you're going through, and then exhibit why you're in that space? Was it because of decisions made presently or past? What has led you to this space? And honor that space while you're in it. Like, give everything that you can that's in your power. Give that space. Like, really sit with it, embrace it, exhibit the reason why you're there, and then go for the journey. Like, stay in the journey of it.
Yeah.
Stay committed to whatever it is that you need to learn in this process, whatever you need to do in this process, whatever you need to prepare for in this process. Stay in that journey, but don't try to get out of it too fast. I love to reflect on things about myself. I love to look at the reason why I do the things that I do. I love to do that with people too. That's
Yeah.
probably why I'm in the profession I'm in. But I love to do that. But I have found myself in the healing process of really sitting in that process and reflecting about why I'm here. And what is it doing to me while I'm here? Am I angry in here, or am I okay? There must be something else to what I need to be doing, or do I need to examine this differently and take a different route? Like, what is happening, and prepare for whatever is happening, and then really go on the journey. I tell my son, he's 24 years old, and I have told Brian in the process, because I've had to see him grow up into his being a young adult. And in your 20s, you're like, hey, hey, just Meek Mill and everything.
Oh no!
Meek
Wait a
Mill,
minute. No, no, no,
hey,
wait a
hey,
minute.
hey, all of it, right? And
Did
so
we just go to Baptist church?
we
He
did,
said,
we
hey,
did. Well, like
praise God, praise
all of
Lord, praise
that.
Lord,
Praise
praise
the Lord,
Lord, praise Lord.
saints. But I told him, like, when you're going through some things and you're on that journey, like, you can go through the journey real fast. Like, you can and dust is up, and you're there quickly. But you can also take the time to understand each step of that journey and what it's doing to you and how it's affecting you. Like, really exhibit where you are in that process. I think that's it has been excuse me, so beneficial to me. Now, if I'm talking to a client about maybe a trauma or something like that they're going through, or they're still living in, then I would definitely say, in that healing process, you may need safety first. Like, assess what's needed in that process too. You really may need safety first before you can even think about what else is happening. Get safe first. And even in that, really connecting with other people who can help you in the journey. Like, have specific people that you can help you in the journey. When we first got married, Tori and I first got married, this was the most profound thing that someone taught us. I was trying to say another word, but only thing came out. So they told us to make sure we had accountability partners, and that we both agreed who that accountability partner would be, because those people that we identified as our accountability partners are the ones that we would talk to about our marriage only. We wouldn't talk to family and friends and children and anybody else. We would have accountability partners that I trusted who he trusted who I chose. If we didn't trust in those people, we didn't use those people as our accountability partners. And that really helped, because I was able to go to that person like, man, let me tell you, I don't even like him right now. I'm gonna cook him dinner. I don't like him.
Yeah.
And he would be able to do the same thing for his accountability partner. So I would also say, in some of that, I would tell my clients, like, find some people that are trustworthy in the process. People that you can be so transparent with. Like, I hate myself. I hate what I've done to my life. Like, if you have to be that transparent with somebody's like, well, the blood of Jesus don't want you to not hate people. You
Yeah.
don't want to hate yourself. Like, I don't need all of that right now.
No, I really hate them right now. That's how I feel.
Right.
That's how I really feel, though.
Right. I hate them and I help myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes you may hate yourself. Do
Yeah.
you have someone that you can be vulnerable with in the process? And definitely in the healing process, be vulnerable. Get very vulnerable. Don't try to put all your clothes on. And, like, I think of it as a vision that I see when I just said that was like putting on a ton of shirts and blazers and all these different socks and all these different pants. Like, no, get naked in the process. Get like bare naked in the process so you can really see what's going on within you. Because when you have all these layers of stuff, i.e., right now is clothing, when you have all of that stuff on, you have to strip some layers to get to the root of or get to the bare body. And in the healing process, I feel like that's what you need to do too. Begin to allow to strip some things off of you so you can be bare in that process and really see who you are and what's going on within in that process. Those are just some of the things that I think about when I think about being in the healing process and some of those maybe guides or tips that people can really use. And yeah, of course, the Word of God. You know, those
Yeah.
I don't ever want to forsake that as well. But just some of the practical things that we can do is to. I love just sitting in spaces, sitting in whatever that is. If I'm angry, I sit in that anger for a little bit. Like, why am I this angry about this? Like, what is happening? Why are my hands sweating? Or why do I feel like this? Like, really, really examining what's going on within me so I can better handle it for the next time because it will be a next time. Jesus always make it a next time,
Oh,
don't
he
he?
do. He do. He do. You know. You know what's crazy? So leading up to us coming together with this podcast, a lot of ups and downs. You know what I'm saying? Schedules not working out, whatever the case may
Yeah.
be. But in that, I think a lot of patience was in that. And then even too, like what you and your husband, for me, y'all exude is a lot of patience. And something when you're talking about stripping yourself of everything in the healing process, one of my favorite subjects is sociology, and the I learned about it was a class that I took in my undergrad. It was a family class, and there were two types of mindsets of people in society: Jermaine shaft mindset and just shell shaft mindset.
Okay.
And Jermaine shaft the shell shaft mindset are people in the city. They gave the example of people in New York just always just on the go, just going, just
Yeah.
going. And Jermaine shaft mindset are people in the suburbs and rural areas. Things were way much more slower. They were more close knit. And what you're talking about, just reaching out or having accountability partners, I think in that healing spot, in that healing process, that is important to have because those people, even my accountability people that I have in my life, they're able to help me slow down
Yeah.
and really process things.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
important
Yes, it
because
is.
life is just like this.
Yes.
You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Absolutely.
And that's, yeah,
And I think that's a
yeah,
trick designed by the enemy for it to be like this all the time.
yes.
Because once it's like this, it's like, okay, so now what am I aiming for? Because all of this is happening. What am I really aiming for?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to target properly. Like I want to hit whatever that target is. I want to hit that properly, not be all over the place. You know what I
No,
mean?
for
All over
real.
the place. So what does that look like? Like examining what's happening. Really, and maybe even having some guidance. Somebody that's the accountability partners we're talking about. So you're shooting at something and you all over the place and somebody Tanisha just to the left.
Mm,
Now down. Okay, now to your right.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
having that spiritual wisdom or just even having that wisdom to be able to understand how to be in the process
Mm-hmm.
or even having direction while you're in the process.
Yeah.
I do not forsake the assembly of the brethren
Mm,
because I know that there is wisdom in that. I know
mm,
that there is a form of peace in that. I know that there is likeness in that. And it would behoove me
mm,
to do it alone
mm,
when I've had people who can tell me that they've already been through it.
mm,
Like, why would you do it alone? Why would I think that I have marriage all on my own when my parents-in-law have been married for 50 plus years?
mm,
Why wouldn't I lean on some of that and
yeah,
take from some of that in my process?
yeah.
So when I'm feeling like I can't do this no more, I can go to a wife that says, I felt like that too. I understand where you are. Here's how you can maneuver. This is what you can do.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
real. That's
having
real.
that peace, I think also helps
Yeah,
in that process.
yeah. And before we leave, I just want to leave everybody with this. And this is how I feel.
Yeah.
We always try to skip the line. But let me be honest with you. I'm going to be honest with myself. I am where I am because this is where I need to be.
Amen.
This is where I
Period.
this is where I need to be. You know what I'm
Period.
saying? Like period. So
That's good.
um so before we leave, is there anything that for the listeners out there, any type of practical advice, any type of
Yeah.
exercises that on their healing journey, if they're on that healing journey, they should do implement in their life? Is there
Yeah.
anything you would like to, let them know?
Yeah. First of all, thank you. Thank you for this
Oh,
opportunity.
thank
It's
you.
been a blessing. From day one, you've always been a blessing. Always
Mm,
been humorous, funny,
mm,
but can come with the word. But
mm.
I love that. I love what you're doing, and you're
Oh,
doing a
thank
great work. So
oh, thank you.
stay encouraged. And speaking of faithfulness, when I called you and told you, I was like, Brian, we saw you, at
Mm,
church with your children.
mm,
Just keep that because I
yeah.
know it may be difficult for you at times,
Mm,
but from the outside looking in, you do it gracefully, you do it
mm,
lovingly.
mm,
Like there is such a beauty to see you with your two children walking into church.
mm,
It's a beauty in that. Like,
mm.
yes, brother,
Hey, we will.
yes,
Every bit of that, Y'all like say we that. We came down 11 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Look, we left late, but we
listen,
there.
but you're there, and
Yeah.
that just so. Even in what may be difficult for you, it's inspiration to us.
I appreciate that.
It's definitely inspiration.
I
But
appreciate
this is what I do want to leave with. This is something that I wrote in my journal when thinking about this podcast because I don't want people to feel like, okay, I'm going through this process and it's heavy because it could be some heavy stuff like
No.
somebody just could have got a cancer report. I
Mm,
mean heavy stuff where their family is torn apart, any heavy stuff that we deal with. And you can be in this healing process and be healed, but still be in process.
mm,
Like I am healed, I am still in process.
mm,
I am healed, I am still in process. Like both can be true. I
mm,
can be going through some dark times in my life. I can be in the healing process, but I can still be in a new process
mm,
of God refining all of
mm,
this. So there's always this level of process that we're going through.
mm,
Let's be okay with like embracing the heavy and then being able to go into the light season as well.
mm.
The heavy season doesn't stay, and neither does the light.
No.
That light season seems like it go faster than the heavy season.
Jesus Christ. Do I have on a weighted blanket? Jesus Christ. My shirt down. What is
Listen,
Oh,
that
for real.
season seems like
No,
but
for
the,
real.
the heavy season like staying for months and years.
No,
Like
for
it's heavy,
real.
Jesus. But just being encouraged in the process and whatever that process may look like for you, to be encouraged in that because it works differently for everyone. It really does work differently for everyone. But one thing I will say is the step of embracing where you are, like embracing that pain, embracing that turmoil. Okay, so what does that look like practically, Tanisha? Not fighting against it, not fighting against the report, not fighting against him walking out or her walking out, not fighting against that child who may be wayward, not fighting against those things. But the fight really sometimes, when you look at some of those circumstances, it may be a fight within. Look internal. Like, look internal. What does that look like for you internally? How do you need to be internally to handle the wayward husband or the wayward child or the doctor's report that was negative? Looking within and dealing with those root issues that come from within, pulling those things up, and allowing new seed to come in. We talk a lot about uprooting and healing in the healing process. You want to uproot these negative behaviors, these negative thoughts. You want to uproot those things. But we don't want to just uproot everything and just have a land full of just soil. We want to put some seed in there too.
Yeah.
So what is that seed? What are those new thoughts that need to go in there? What is that new scripture you can put in there? What are those new friends, that new woman, that new home, that new money, that new money? Yeah.
No, no, no. Everything, no, no,
You know,
For real.
just don't be so caught up on uprooting everything and not planting anything. Let's plant some things too, so that can bring on a different type of harvest in the next heavy season.
You raw, because you got all these plants. Let's plant something, baby. Let's plant something, baby.
Look, you come back maybe next year, so it's gonna be a garden out there. We're
No, for
gonna learn how
real.
to eat our own food.
Yeah, that's
Okay?
real. That's
Yeah.
real. Wow. So let's plant some new
Let's
things.
plant some new
Let's plant
things.
some new things.
Let's uproot some old and
Let's,
plant something new.
yes,
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to end things.
Thank you.
Yes, I really appreciate you.
I
This
appreciate you too.
this was raw.
Yeah.
I'm going. Yes, this was. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I believe people are really going to find some great value into this.
Amen.
Like seriously though, because
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. Me
Because
too.
I am new. I'm about to
New,
go.
new,
They gonna
new.
look at me like, who
Everything
are
new.
you?
And you
Different.
right?
Uprooting. You want? Hey, I got a shovel for you.
I know that's
You know.
right.
But I want to
Yes.
thank you though.
Yes. Thank
Again, I
you.
appreciate you, your husband, Team
Yeah.
Enterprise. Y'all have
Yeah.
been like, one of the, like platforms and one of the, entities that have really helped my healing process.
Amen.
So I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
So healing, y'all. We are done.
We are done.
Again, is there anything you would like to let the people know? You got anything coming up? Anything?
Yes, I am starting my own group practice called Recover Well Healing and
Oh, okay.
Holistic Services.
Hey,
So
okay.
that's coming up. I'm just doing the groundwork for that right now, and I just want to help the people. I
Okay.
want to help the people.
Okay.
I specialize in eating disorders and trauma, but it's inclusive. That's just my specific area of study is eating
Okay.
disorders and trauma. But yeah, I want to see people get well. I want to see people be healed. I want to see people whole. I want to see people live their best lives, like really living their best lives. And that doesn't mean that you have all the money, the best of everything, but that does mean that you are content within, you are whole within. Can you imagine being whole with money?
Yeah.
Ha!
Whew. Yeah.
Whole with money.
You're different. You're a different beast.
Listen,
You're a different beast.
can you imagine
You're a
that? That's
different
what I
beast.
want to see people whole with whatever that thing
Yeah.
is that I want to see people whole.
That's
Yeah.
different. That's different.
Yeah.
So we're whole with money. We're planting new seeds. Again, I
Yes.
appreciate you.
Yes.
Thank y'all for tuning in to the Becoming Opus podcast, where we are growing, we are learning and unlearning everything that we need to do to get to the next level mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.